Welcome back. That showdown in the Senate over the Save America Act is about to get started. Republicans are preparing a marathon debate over that bill, which would require an ID and proof of citizenship to vote. That debate is set to start at 2:45 Eastern Time today. The polls overwhelmingly show the American public wants to get this passed, but most Democrats can't seem to get on board with the idea of protecting election integrity. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin is showing his true colors. He thinks married women simply won't be capable of doing what's required to vote under the Save America Act.
They've got no program for the country other than disenfranchisement, voter suppression, the SAVE Act, which I think violates the 19th Amendment when you tell American women you bring your driver's license and you bring your birth certificate, and if they don't match, which they won't for 69 million American women, then you need to bring a passport, and half of the people don't have passports, you know?
Well, let's welcome in Ben Weingarten, senior contributor for the Federalist. Also along with us, Brittany Hughes, video host at the Media Research Center. Great to see you both.
You too, John.
So, Brittany, please inform all of us men who assume that women are incapable of doing what's required to vote under the provisions in the Save America Act.
This is so incredibly insulting to suggest that women cannot figure this out, in the same way that it was insulting when Democrats suggested that black people can't figure out how to get a basic ID. Look, it's really not that difficult. When you get married, you get this thing called a marriage license. You actually can't get married without one. And then you take it down to the DMV or to the Social Security office, and you can get a brand new Social Security card. You can get a brand new real ID. It's really not that difficult. And when you get your new driver's license or your new ID, that's where you register to vote. The idea that women are going to have to cart some, filing folder everywhere they go or to go vote is absolutely absurd. You simply bring your license and you're registered to vote under your new married name. If you don't have your birth certificate, it's not that difficult to get one. You can go online to any one of a dozen websites and they will send you your birth certificate within about 7 to 10 business days. It's not that hard. And so again, this is not true. It's a bald-faced lie, frankly. It's an insult, and it's an excuse not to pass what is a common-sense bill that the vast majority of Americans, including Democrats, support, and with good common-sense reason.
Good old Chuck Schumer, Ben, has had to up his level of righteous indignation. Here he is.
The Save America Act makes it harder to vote and much easier to steal an election. And Trump is learning day by day that the only way he's going to win is stealing it, and we are not going to let him win. We are going to do everything we can to block this pernicious, despicable, anti-American piece of legislation.
Anti-American to make sure that only Americans are voting?
Right. Well, first of all, and of course, Donald Trump won 2 elections under the terrible rules that we have now, which are all about eviscerating election integrity. But set that aside for a moment. To your point, the whole issue that we have is that Democrats destroyed election integrity, opened up the borders, and made it incredibly easy to cheat and hard to catch the cheaters as we've gone further and further away from any semblance of a chain of custody here, where we have voting on a single election day in a voting booth where you have to show ID, et cetera. There's been massive foreign influence in our elections and in our political system. First of all, because we've seen the voter rolls have to be purged in a number of states as a consequence of the fact that, in part, non-citizens are on the rolls. And we have an honor system where you simply check a box saying, I am a U.S. citizen, register to vote. But second of all, because, of course, foreigners are represented in our election system due to the way that we apportion congressional seats in the census. Totally disingenuous from Chuck Schumer, because they can't defend the fact you should have to vote with an ID and you should have to be a citizen to be on the rolls in the first place in this country.
Yeah, and they're also having this debate about funding DHS. And one of the key provisions that Democrats keep saying must be included in any funding for ICE or DHS is to make sure that ICE agents are prohibited from these polling locations. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, is pushing to force a vote on reopening most DHS funding, but he wants to exclude ICE and Border Patrol. And we're seeing major lines at the airports as well right now, since these TSA agents aren't getting paid. They're not showing up to work. The Democrats engineered this shutdown, Brittany. They're going to be held responsible for it, right?
Well, not if the media are to be believed, because when they talk about all of this and they talk about long TSA lines, or they talk about FEMA employees not getting paid and us potentially not having a good response to an emergency, of course, they don't mention Democrats. They don't mention that it's Democrat stonewalling that is causing this, just as it was with the last shutdown. Look, I mean, it's absolutely absurd, first of all, why they're doing this over the idea of the ICE Gestapo that is supposedly just running rampant through our nation. The ICE operational budget is fully funded. ICE is not stopping its operations. They are still out there arresting criminal aliens, some of the worst people like child predators that you can imagine. ICE isn't being affected. What is being affected are long TSA lines. We still have security at our airports. It's just that there's like 3 people working it. And so you've got hours-long lines at places like the Orlando airport, for example, where lines were reaching as long as 4 and 5 hours. That's absolutely absurd. When you have FEMA that's not getting funded, I mean, that's incredibly dangerous. And now you're also talking about homeland security threats because we don't have the security that we would normally have at TSA, for example, at a time when we actually have heightened security risks. We are at war with Iran right now. We have had 4 different terrorist attacks in 2 weeks alone. So we're going to continue seeing more of this. And the fact that our security is lax right now because of the DHS essentially shutdown that the Democrats are waging is a massive problem. But again, when you listen to the media, they're not calling out the facts as far as Democrats are the ones who are stonewalling, and they're the reasons why we're having this problem.
Right, and that's the messaging battle that's playing out right before our very eyes. Ben and Brittany, great to see you both here. Thank you for your time.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.